These internal police emails we obtained are raising serious questions tonight about the objectivity of Petersburg police officers testifying in court and are sparking allegations of possible ethical misconduct against prosecutors. They're being called a legal bombshell, a ticking time bomb inside Petersburg courtrooms.
When I saw these memos, they were sent over to me, I was actually shocked that somewhere there's a police officer so stupid.
What Capitol defender and former federal prosecutor David Balk calls sheer stupidity.
For them to come out with this position is really kind of dumb.
Is these internal police memos. The first email, dated March 29th, orders officers not to speak with anyone in the public defender's office, including their investigator, Joanne Pena, or any defense attorney. Violators are warned their job is at stake.
Excuse me, Ms. Pena, can you comment on the memos that have been coming out of the police department ordering officers not to speak with defense attorneys?
I can't. Unfortunately, that's part of a pending investigation, so I'm not at liberty to comment on any of the memos.
Other defense attorneys don't feel similarly bound.
What is your reaction to these memos that I showed you?
I'm shocked. Just absolutely shocked. It's astounding.
In a follow-up email on April 10th, First Sergeant Carl Moore, in essence, advocates that Petersburg officers have a stake in ensuring successful prosecutions. He writes that defense attorneys, quote, want to win, and subsequently, we, and the community we've chosen to protect, lose. Why would you as a police officer choose to jeopardize your chances at victory in regards to your case?
It certainly says that your job is to get a conviction.
Here's the problem. Our nation's legal system is based on the premise that officers are independent witnesses, supposed to relate the facts in court without bias. They're to seek justice. Now, every time a Petersburg officer testifies in court, the question can be raised. Are they just trying to get a conviction at all costs?
They're telling the Petersburg Police Department, you guys do have a dog in the fight. You should care about whether or not you get a conviction. And that automatically loses credibility. If I were trying a case in Petersburg, I would read those memos to the jury.
I tried contacting Sergeant Moore, who issued the emails.
At the tone, please record your message.
Sergeant Moore, AJ Lagoe with Channel 8 News.
But haven't heard back. There's a whole other side to this story. Look at the CCs on all the memos. They include Petersburg Commonwealth's attorney, Cassandra Conover. She responds in part to the one that references officers needing victory by writing, Carl, thank you so much for the work you're doing to address our communication issues. That's raising eyebrows because Virginia ethics guidelines clearly state prosecutors shall not instruct or encourage a person to withhold evidence from the defense.
Does that seem like it is encouraging?
Yeah. It is definitely a pat on the head to whoever wrote this. And that's encouraging. You know, you've done a good job. That's encouraging.
I thank them.
Thank you. Great job. It's important we work together.
No, look at what I said. I said thank you in addressing our communication issues. I did not address all the other stuff that he put in that memo.
Conover denies any wrongdoing. I asked her if these memos, though, undermine the credibility of an officer testifying in court.
Does this undermine his credibility in front of a jury if this is brought to
And it could. You know, AJ, it could.
I tried to speak with Petersburg Police Chief John Dixon about this issue. I was told by a spokesperson, Chief Dixon does not care to comment. The state bar is investigating to see if ethical violations have been made, and in fact, they requested all the memos we uncovered as a part of our investigation. In these internal police memos, the first dated March 29th, officers are ordered not to speak with anyone in the public defender's office or any defense attorney. Violators are warned their job is at stake. In a follow-up email on April 10th, First Sergeant Carl Moore writes that defense attorneys, quote, want to win and subsequently we, and the community we've chosen to protect lose. Why would you as a police officer choose to jeopardize your chances at victory in regards to your case?
It certainly says that your job is to get a conviction. It does. That is the message that I could see a reasonable Petersburg police officer getting. And that is the wrong message.
That wrong message, as former federal prosecutor and current Capitol defender David Baugh describes it, is sparking outrage in the community.
It makes every police officer have a dog in the case. It'll slow the administration of justice down to a snail's pace. And the people that'll suffer will be the citizens of this city.
So far, both Police Chief John Dixon and Sergeant Moore, the man who authored the memos, have refused to comment. Today, the Virginia State Conference of the NAACP issued a statement referencing our investigation. In it, Executive Director King Salim Khalfani writes, "It is unacceptable for someone representing Police Chief John Dixon to say he does not care to comment." Khalfani also calls out the mayor, city council, and city manager, saying someone needs to speak for the city of Petersburg. Who will be man or woman enough to do so? The answer to that question so far is no one. Not a single representative of City Hall was willing to discuss these police memos, which Commonwealth's Attorney Cassandra Conover admits could threaten every single court case where a Petersburg police officer is called to testify.
Does this undermine his credibility in front of a jury if this is brought to
And it could. You know, AJ, it could.
Conover and her office are also drawing criticism since they were CC'd on the memos and never discouraged what was written in them. A state bar ethics violation investigation is underway. I asked her point blank if the police policy outlined in these memos needs to be changed.
Do you think this is a policy for the police department that needs to be changed? If this is their policy to not talk with defense attorneys,
I think it's a policy that they need to look at. They need to strongly look at and rethink.
The NAACP says they impatiently await an answer from those who are responsible in Petersburg. Tonight, there's no telling how long that wait will be or how long this seemingly unjust policy will be in place. The controversy and outcry is growing in Petersburg since last week when we first unveiled these internal police emails threatening officers' jobs if they speak with defense attorneys. The memos raise serious questions about the objectivity of Petersburg police officers testifying in court. Not only do they threaten officers' jobs if they speak about cases with the defense, the man issuing the command, First Sergeant Carl Moore, instructs officers to ensure successful prosecution and to not jeopardize their chances at victory in cases. The problem with that is officers are supposed to be objective witnesses, testifying to the facts and the evidence, and whether a defendant is found guilty or not guilty, that's the concern of the judge or jury. We tried speaking with Sergeant Moore.
Sergeant Moore?
How you doing?
AJ Lagoe with Channel 8. How are you, sir?
I'm outstanding. Good to meet you.
I'd like to ask you about these memos you issued, telling officers that it's their job to get convictions. Why did you put those out?
The opportunity, but I really can't speak. Thank you.
Can't talk about it?
I'm not right now. Thank you.
While polite and professional, Moore is not talking. Neither is his boss, Police Chief John Dixon.
Hi, Esther. AJ Lagoe with Channel 8, calling again to request an interview with Chief Dixon.
We've called every day for the past week asking to discuss the intent and ramifications of the memos with Chief Dixon. Thank you. We've yet to get so much as a call back, although on one of our calls, spokesperson Esther Hyatt told me the chief does not care to comment. In a statement issued by the NAACP, Chief Dixon's decision not to talk is called unacceptable. The statement also calls the policy troubling and that this infers that police officers' job is to get a conviction.
I was thanking him for addressing our communication issues, not addressing all whatever.
The Petersburg Commonwealth's Attorney's Office is now subject to a state bar ethics violation investigation. Virginia guidelines clearly state prosecutors shall not instruct or encourage a witness to withhold evidence from the defense. The CA's office is clearly CC'd on all the police memos, and Cassandra Conover even responds to one, thanking Sergeant Moore for the work he's doing to address their communication issues. Some attorneys say that is encouraging the policy of officers, witnesses, not being allowed to speak with the defense.
I thanked him.
Thank you. Great job. It's important we work together.
No, look at what I said. I said thank you in addressing our communication issues. I did not address all the other stuff that he put in that memo.
Former federal prosecutor and current Capitol defender David Baugh uses some harsh words to describe the department policy.
For them to come out with this position is really kind of dumb, not particularly bright. That is ammunition for incredibility. It's absurd. I was actually shocked that somewhere there's a police officer so stupid. I hope somebody stops that.
While Chief Dixon seems unwilling to stop it, we've been trying to question his boss at City Hall, City Manager William Johnson, whom the policy of officers seeking successful prosecution and victory could directly affect since he was arrested recently on charges of assault and domestic battery against his wife. While Johnson's been dealing with the charges and the resulting protests against the city keeping him on, he's refused to discuss the issue, referring us to the city attorney, who Thursday afternoon emailed a written statement. It reads in part, "The intent of the emails was to ensure officers make contact with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office in advance of speaking with defense counsel. This was an internal communication, and nothing in the emails indicated that the police should do anything illegal or not testify truthfully." It goes on to say the city agrees police should work through the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, but the Commonwealth's attorney herself is questioning the policy.
I think it's a policy that they need to look at. They need to strongly look at and rethink.
The whole issue is now coming to a head here in Petersburg courtrooms. On Wednesday, a public defender in a drug distribution case made allegations that the police policy violates his client's due process rights, obstructs justice, and threatens a material witness, aka the police officer who will lose his job if he talks with the defense. Accusations that won't go away as long as these memos are department policy.
That could create major problems for your cases.
It could create problems.
Now, for the first time, Petersburg's top cop is speaking out. Investigative reporter AJ Lagoe has been on this story for weeks and has the update.
Back in April, we first unveiled these internal Petersburg Police Department memos that seem to threaten officers' jobs if they speak with defense attorneys about cases. They sparked outcry in the community, but the Petersburg Police Department refused to discuss the issue. Until now.
Hi, Chief. AJ Lagoe.
After weeks of phone calls requesting an interview with Petersburg Police Chief John Dixon, we walked up to him outside a community symposium.
I think we have a difference of the interpretation of that policy, so it's very difficult for me to talk about from that perspective.
How do you interpret it?
Well, if you give me 1 second, I'll be right back out. Just let me walk in here and let people know that I'm here. Okay, I'll be right back.
He was here to tout statistics showing the city's decreasing crime rate. What we want to discuss are the intent and ramifications of these internal department emails, which legal experts claim raise serious questions about the objectivity of Petersburg police officers testifying in court. Not only do they appear to threaten officers' jobs if they speak about cases with defense attorneys, the man issuing the command, First Sergeant Carl Moore, instructs officers to ensure successful prosecution and to not jeopardize their chances at victory in cases. The NAACP issued a statement pointing out what they and many others see as a big problem with that policy. They write, police officers are supposed to be independent witnesses. This infers a police officer's responsibility is to gain a conviction. True to his word, Chief Dixon comes back outside to talk with us. He told us we had a difference of interpretation of the memos. I again asked him for his.
Right, it was an internal memo that went out to employees based on some concerns that we had with officers not putting together the cases and preparing the cases and talking to the Commonwealth attorney. Simple as that.
Is it an appropriate policy, though, for officers to be seeking convictions? Is that their job?
Their job is to put together the best case that they can.
The memos tell them something else, though.
No, your interpretation of the memos tell them something else.
We asked directly about the policy forbidding officers to communicate with defense attorneys.
Again, that's a misinterpretation on your part. Officers were never told not to talk to defense attorneys. That never was the case.
Here's what the department email we obtained says in bold print. You must, shall, have to, need to, cannot do anything but communicate with the CA, Commonwealth's attorney, who is prosecuting your case. There are plenty of exclamation points for emphasis.
Your own Commonwealth's attorney has said that this policy needs to be rethought.
I think it's a policy that they need to look at. They need to strongly look at and rethink.
How do you respond to that?
That's a conversation you need to have with her, because when I talked to her, that wasn't the conversation I had with her.
Do you understand why the memos created such an uproar in the legal community?
I don't think it did that. Again, that's a media outburst. It was not uproar. Nobody contacted me. Nobody had any conversation with me.
But Petersburg's chief public defender, John Cobb, whose office and investigator Joanne Pena are specifically mentioned as do not communicate with in this memo dated March 29th, tells us he met with Chief Dixon for more than an hour on May 2nd to discuss his numerous concerns with what's laid out as policy in the memos.
Not one attorney, not one department contacted you?
No, sir.
As you heard Chief Dixon tell me repeatedly, interpretation of the policies outlined in these memos is crucial. Yet several sources speaking on the condition of anonymity tell me that members of the department itself aren't clear on how to interpret it. Can they or can't they talk with defense attorneys? Also, a state bar investigation is ongoing to determine if members of the Petersburg Commonwealth's Attorney's Office committed any ethics violations in relation to those memos. In Petersburg, AJ Lagoe, 8 News.